Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise on behalf of the thousands of York Countyans who remain out of work, who are struggling to feed their families, to pay their bills, and protect their lives and their livelihoods, and to express my strong support of House Resolution 836. I commend my good friend and colleague, the gentleman from Adams County, for his leadership in the Senate on this issue. Mr. President, House Resolution 836 restores the checks and balances through the remainder of this pandemic. And voting to end this emergency declaration is not an action to be taken lightly. But for far too long, all of us on both sides of the aisle have had to explain mandates, closures, guidance, and executive orders issued by the administration that have lacked clarity and transparency. Meanwhile, I know I am not alone in receiving the hundreds of calls and emails asking for assistance with unemployment compensation benefits. In fact, just yesterday, ABC 27 had a story that highlighted that 16% of Pennsylvanians are still without their unemployment compensation benefits, with 2.2 million Pennsylvanians seeking unemployment assistance since mid-March, and just yesterday, 16% are still without any unemployment benefits. Mr. President, for nearly 3 months, over 350,000 Pennsylvanians have been without a job, without a paycheck, and without unemployment compensation benefits. That is not only unacceptable, it is downright cruel. How do you pay your rent or mortgage? How do you pay for groceries or utilities? Think about it for a second. The population of 1.5 of our Senate districts has been without pay for nearly 3 months. This is not hyperbole. This is not a what-if scenario. These are real lives, with 1/3 of our state's labor force out of work. The administration's go-it-alone approach is not working, and no one here can say it has been easy to explain the unilateral decisions of the governor. But let's pretend that each and every one of us in this chamber was included with those 350,000 Pennsylvanians without a job and without any unemployment benefits for nearly 3 months. Would our response be different? Because we are all collecting a paycheck to be here today. Some of us receive health care benefits, some of us have a retirement package through the Senate, but the same cannot be said for 2.2 million Pennsylvanians. They've had to dip into their retirement or their savings account just to pay bills. Yet the governor explains life-changing decisions through press release, through late Friday news conferences that up until a week ago did not even include the media for direct and follow-up questions. The notion that protecting public health and protecting our economy are mutually exclusive goals is absurd. We have heard testimony right here in this chamber from healthcare professionals from all over the state that the curve has been flattened. We have seen a failure by the administration to protect one of the core missions tasked by the agency spearheading the fight of this pandemic. Roughly 70% of the deaths in Pennsylvania have occurred within nursing homes and long-term care facilities, as reported by the Department of Health. The administration is finally rolling out expanded testing to protect our most vulnerable, only after this chamber raised the issue. And now our economy is in shambles. We have a color-coded system that has not been transparent. The governor has established an arbitrary and subjective process of picking winners and losers that is not in the best interest of anyone. Livelihoods have been destroyed. Lives have been lost. And there's no end in sight. And we're told, be patient. The latest example of the go-it-alone approach of the administration came just last week when they released guidance on the plan to reopen the schools this fall. In the materials, they review steps to sanitize and disinfect water fountains in 2 different sections. Then in the same document, they outline ways that we should prohibit the use of drinking fountains. This is just a small example of the directives and decisions by this administration that everyone in this room has to explain because of the administration's open-door policy that quite honestly resembles the vault entering Fort Knox. We've always said that we're in this process together, but actions speak louder than words. Today, we are taking a stand to restore checks and balances because the people's patience has worn out. We're saying that we can protect lives and restore livelihoods. We're supporting the more than 2.2 million Pennsylvanians who find themselves without a job and the more than 350,000 Pennsylvanians who've been without a paycheck and an unemployment compensation check. Enough is enough. Let's work together as the co-equal branches of government that our founders envisioned and established, and then we will get through this together. Mr. President, that is why I respectfully ask my colleagues to join me in casting an affirmative vote for House Resolution 836. Thank you, Mr. President.